I think I got taco seasoning in my eye.
You have taco seasoning in your eye?
I think I do.
How did that happen? You wear glasses, first of all.
I know.
The sheer physics of that is daunting.
Because I just had taco salad for dinner. Like, I was literally making it like...
Did you put your face in it? Like...
Well, no, I seasoned everything, and I was putting all the food away. I must have got some of the taco meat juice or something on my eyes. Like, I always rinse my hands afterwards.
Okay.
But
I'll accept that. The way you approached that story was like, of course I got it in my eye. I ate it for dinner.
Dude, I go ham for taco salad. Like, straight up and down. I make it like...
Strap a fucking trough to my face and let me consume it in mass quantities.
No, you have no earthly idea. Like, it is disgusting the amount of taco salad that we just destroy whenever we have taco salad.
Oh my god, the taco salad is a weakness. I'm gonna make some taco salad next time you come over now. That's what I'm
man, taco salad. I fuck taco salad up. Oh my god.
I'm glad you finished that. I thought you were going to say you fuck taco salad. Like, it's just
taco salad.
Fuck taco salad. That's it. Oh, man, this was almost an opener. They decided to say we're fucking food products. Maybe a bonus.
Time to get your fix. It's a horrible gaming podcast. It's not good, it's not great. Horrible gaming podcast. It's not even what you would call fair. It's really not that good. Horrible Gaming Podcast.
Hello, my name is Zachariah with Old Man Gaming. You, dear listener, have decided for whatever reason to tune into another Horrible Gaming Podcast. I am not alone. Mostly I am never alone. With me is...
Neil, a.k.a. Tiny Wizard.
Yeah, here we are. We're going to talk about some games. Maybe. I don't know. It's Father's Day. I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. I prepared very little for this show. Very little, indeed. But it's Dad's Day when we're recording this, so I kind of checked out. So, and Neil's
Happy
literally
belated Father's Day.
Neil's literally eating on camera. So there you go. For anybody who was like, for anybody who subscribed for Crunchy and was like, can't wait for the next eating video, your wait is over.
Yeah, the sequel is called Gummy.
All right. So before we get into it, got to thank a couple people. Number one, behind our ugly mugs, you're seeing a fancy graphic that was provided by Mr. Mark Bell. We thank him for that. And, of course, the theme song for this show and all of the shows here at OMG is provided by my brother, the man who makes the music, Nick Van Slaters. We thank him for that.
Horrible Gaming Podcast.
That brings us to our first segment, our most important segment, that is Fan-ter-action. That's where you guys, the fans, talk to us, the co-hosts. We read all your comments, all the places we can find them. I got a couple of special ones for us today too, but we respond to you. We're a crappy small show, so the best thing we can do is communicate with our fans, and that's what we're gonna do. So here we go. First, I've got to say, one interesting thing that has come into my life from this show is the friends, both new and old, that I've made out of this show. One of the friendships that I've rekindled due to their fanship of the podcast is Asylum 66. Now, just to raise the curtain a little bit, Asylum 66 is actually a guy I used to know in high school. I didn't know that when he first started commenting. I did make some comments that I thought it was him. And, sure enough, we actually started talking. We've actually started hanging out again. It's nice. It kind of got rekindled through the podcast. That being said, when I went to hang out with him this last Friday, I was greeted with the words, "That was the worst podcast you guys have ever done." First words out of his mouth. I was like, "Well, nice to see you too." So I've got to say a couple of things that I'm going to go ahead and apologize for from us. Number one, we did not talk. One of the biggest complaints is apparently A Plague Tale is one of the best games ever or whatever.
I've heard.
I've heard too. Okay. I'm gonna say my feelings on A Plague Tale, but I do apologize because that is one problem with this show, is that unfortunately we do tend to cover things that both me and Neil are excited about a little bit more, because we don't actually have a staff behind us to do research for us. So the things that we research with our small amounts of free time are usually the things that we tend to be a little bit more interested in. So when these shows come around, we end up talking about things that kind of get us going a little bit more than other people. And I'd like to apologize for that. I will say this, A Plague's Tale to me bothers me because it just seems like a tearjerker to me. It looked like that from moment one. Like, how do we make this game better? Oh, we make everybody who play it cries. Like, that's what it felt like to me. That being said, I've heard from at least 5 people now at once as I walked into a get-together that it's a great game, and how dare I not cover it more. So, nonetheless, I know
on Game Pass at some point.
I'm sure. I'm not going to play that. I'm going to be completely honest here. I feel like that game is like, how do we make, how do we get people to cry? It's a tearjerker video game, and that just doesn't do it for me. I have no interest. The subject matter immediately was like, I have no interest in that. And another thing, which I really didn't get to say when I was being descended upon by my pack of friends, or my pack of friends both old and new, about how wrong I was about this video game. But another thing, I play video games to escape reality. That's what I do. I play it to escape reality and have fun. I'm not going to have fun in that game. There's nothing about that game that sounds even remotely fun. So that's why I'm going to stick away. It's a game about the bubonic plague and a kid trying to save his brother. Something like that. No, I'm good. That being said, it is getting a sequel. We're sorry we didn't talk about it more. If you are into that game, the sequel does look pretty interesting. I went back and looked back at it. The graphics look a lot nicer. It definitely looks like they've updated some of the kind of almost stealth, smarter-based combat of the first game. So I think it should be an interesting game. But I was not alone in this fact-checking, and since, Neil, you do not travel with me everywhere, I got to get yelled at for things you said wrong.
Ooh, yay!
The remake of Last of Us did not come out 2 years ago. It came out 8 years ago. That's how old we are, sir. Came out
really
8 years ago. And I actually went to the internet to make sure that this was right, but that is true. 8 years ago, that's when that remake came out. So while they all agreed that you were correct in saying that it definitely shouldn't be being made, it still doesn't need to be made, that was a big time, man. It's a big time gap. So,
yeah, well, I've always heard that as you get older, time flows differently. So,
I mean, I'm the same way. There's many times where I've said something just came out, and it turns out that it came out before my daughter was born. So like... is what it is, but yes. So those two matters out of the way, we're going to move into the comments, the wonderful comments section. First, Jason. State of Decay is on Xbox/PC. It's a Microsoft game. Did I say opposite of that?
I don't know.
I feel like he's checking me. I recommended State of Decay too. I didn't recommend State of Decay, but I'm not sure why he commented that. Then he said Dismantle needs real multiplayer, which I didn't know it didn't have multiplayer. Then let's see, what else did Jason say? We'll say with one person for a second. It ain't just a praying mantis, it's an orchid mantis. Parentheses, probably because they tend to be smaller and are often kept as pets. And he's speaking specifically about the Grounded update. Either way, it's a mantis. I want to kill it, make a hat out of it.
People keep orchid mantis as pets?
Yeah, you didn't know that?
No, that's That's cool as shit, though.
Yeah, in Japan, they actually used to fight them. Like, it was like a thing. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Weird.
So, continuing. I have the locked door issue with saving games. I know I just saved the game, right? Shit, I don't know. Save it again.
Yeah.
Sometimes I swear I save a game 5 times before I'm certain for sure it was saved. And any old school gamer has this issue. Like, anybody of the old generation is like, did I save that? Did I save that? So I've had moments back in the day where I'd like save it, turn it off, walk away from it, and then be like, I have to go turn it on and make sure that my progress is still there. just to make sure.
Everybody has a horror story.
Yeah.
Of thinking that they saved after so many hours and then realizing they hadn't.
Oh, yeah. I had one where I used to be really into the Jak and Daxter games. Loved them. And Jak 2, I was almost through the game. And my roommate at the time decided to just fuck around with my PlayStation 2. And when I got home to finish the game, I was at the beginning of the game. They had saved over my game.
Oh, no.
I was very upset with said roommate. Nonetheless, I didn't go back to that game for a very long time because I just didn't have it in me to do everything I had done again. A couple of years later, I finally picked up the second one again, and then also the third one, and just blew through them both, which awesome games. But that was one of mine. All right, let me see. High on Life is more bizarre. It's disturbing. Your weapons are alive, and one of them informs you you're shooting its babies as ammo. They don't tend to live long, but not to worry, because it's easy to make more. Seriously, that's fucked up even for me, says Jason. I agree. Look, I know Rick and Morty is a big thing, and I've watched a few, and I think that there's a lot of like really insightful, interesting humor in it. That being said, it's not for me. It's just a little bit too over the top, and I don't know. High on Life seems like more of the same of that, so I don't know. I know that that was another one we got lambasted for when I went over to my friend's house because they were all excited about it, and we didn't really talk about it at all. But again, it's just not one that we're excited for, and unfortunately, anybody listening to this is kind of at the whim of our wants on the day. So we try to get outside the box, but sometimes we don't. High on Life, that's not a game that interests me in any way, shape, or form. So, all right.
Yeah, same.
Continuing, here we go. William Owen, hi! Exclamation point. A Parade of Cynicism. Man, that title was made for me. Yes. I can't believe it took me 145 episodes to come up with that title, Will. He continues. Cranky Zach is probably right about Starfield, but I guess we'll just have to wait and see. I don't believe anything game companies are telling me anyway, so I usually don't pay too much attention on PR talks and previews. Honestly, I don't dislike procedurally generated worlds, but if it is, just say it's handcrafted, which that's something we should talk about tonight. If there's only some points of interest that are handcrafted, just say it. Those companies are shooting themselves in the foot because of the lies they are telling us. If the game gets out and is amazing, it's gonna be amazing. If it sucks, it's just gonna be Wednesday. Now, before we continue, I'm gonna pause the reading here because he has more to say about some other things, but I don't want to get lost in this. One of the big things, though, is it's not just that the game comes out and it's amazing or it's not amazing. If you spend years building something up and then those things that you built up aren't in the game, it doesn't matter how good the game is. It doesn't matter how great the game is, because all people are going to see is the things you promised them that's not in it. It's the same thing happened with No Man's Sky in the beginning. Same thing happened with Cyberpunk. Like, things were promised that weren't in it. If you were to look at Cyberpunk, the initial release, and you were to look at it without any of the hype factors or any of the train, yes, it had bugs. It had tons of bugs. I'm not arguing it had bugs. But if you look at it without the bugs, it was still a good game. The problem was they promised us things that they just couldn't deliver on, and that made the game way worse. My problem with Cyberpunk isn't necessarily even the quality of the game. It's that they promised us the moon and they gave us a picture of it. And that's the thing that irritates me. Same with No Man's Sky. Now, again, I laud No Man's Sky because they kind of came back from this, and they've actually kind of given us everything they promised in the beginning now. But in the beginning, they promised us a lot of things, and then those things didn't show up in the game. The original No Man's Sky game was still a good game. It's just they didn't give us anything that we thought they were going to give us, and that was a huge problem. My big concern with Starfield isn't necessarily that it's not going to be a functionally good game. My big concern with Starfield is that they have promised things that they can't possibly deliver on. It's this overhype in gaming that is just that's just all-encompassing. And that's my biggest problem with all of these PRs, all of these things. It's not even necessarily that the game comes out and sucks. It's that the game comes out and is fine, but you've promised us things you can't deliver on. You've lied to us to sell more copies of it, even though probably it was going to sell just fine. If you had just shut up and sold the thing, it would have been fine. Like, I don't know. Do you see what I'm saying, Neil?
Yeah, and actually to expand on that too, there's also this like new sort of, I guess, thought process to where they present things in such a way that they know they're leading people to think that it is something else.
Yeah.
So that way, whenever it comes out, like that's why we have like shit like Keeley at his Summer Game Fest, you know, doing anti-hype.
Yep.
Or saying stuff like, you know, when a game comes out, well, we never exclusively said X, Y, and Z was going to be in the game, but, you know, you showed us stuff and presented stuff to us in such a way.
Right.
Yeah, like the whole Starfield thing, you know, saying it's handcrafted. Everything's handcrafted. There is no way in absolute fuck that you have 1,000 planets.
You obviously haven't seen the interview with Todd Howard. We're going to do a mini topic. We're going to do 2 mini topics today. Because we got to talk about Todd Howard's interview directly after Starfield. He was already doing damage control already.
Oh, geez.
I messaged you about it.
I was about to say, this is what you sent me something about. I didn't see.
Yeah.
Oh, geez.
I won't have the article in front of me, so I'm going to try and paraphrase from memory. But yeah, we'll do a mini subject on that. Not to talk more Starfield and Sonic, which I'm sure you guys are sick of hearing about. But like I said, I didn't do any prep, and it's just the forefront, so that's what we're doing. It's just it's the overpromise, it's the overhype that really drives me nuts, and the fact that they promised, like Cyberpunk promised, just an innumerable amount of ways that your story could play out. And then it turned out that you could begin it 3 ways and it got to the same exact point no matter what by 2 hours in, you know? Like, and it's like it was the promise of this like amazing interactive world, and you still got a very linear based thing. And like stuff like that. That's the kind of stuff that worries me about Starfield. And I guess we'll talk about it more since Neil did not read those articles. Because it's the same thing. Todd Howard's already backtracking, but nobody's reading the IGN articles on his interview. So he knows that, like, he can use the interview later to say, hey, I didn't say that. But at the same time, most people are just watching the show and freaking out over that 15 minutes, you know? Mm-hmm. Although I will say the internet has definitely gotten a little bit more cynical when it comes to stuff like this, because Starfield actually got a little bit of hate on Twitter. Everybody's just calling it No Man's Skyrim now.
No.
Like they're not as impressed as usually this kind of stuff works. But okay, I want to get back into the letter. We'll get more into that later. I can't wait to see the cash shop of Diablo 4. That's going to be great content for YouTubers for sure. A little off topic for Neil, parentheses, wrote that before he talked about it. Have you seen the Razer Kishi V2? Yes, he has. I am so disappointed they did the backbone design and let go of the folding gimmick, which was great for carrying the controller in my backpack. I have both Kishi and backbone, and I use my backbone controller at home and the Razer Kishi on the go. I just wanted to share this with you since I know you use a Kishi. That said, V2 will fit with the bigger phones, so I guess there's that. Then he finishes off by saying, anyway, thanks for the show. Hashtag Starfield is a lie. I like that hashtag. I like that hashtag.
A little to go into that little side note there too. I also I didn't know until I'd started looking, because ever since I found out I couldn't use my Kishi with my S22 Ultra, I started looking for alternatives and stuff. And I forget the name of the company. I did not realize this. The first generation of the Razer Kishi was manufactured in partnership with this other company. Okay. So it was their stuff, and they just slapped a Razer logo on it, basically. The second time around, it seems as the Razer, the Kishi V2 is Razer's own sort of design, but that other company has since broken away and made their own version of it, and it's only I think it's $50 or $60, and I want to go with their version of it, because from what I've seen, it looks like it functions the same way as the OG Kishi, not this, new crap that they're coming up with at Razer.
Okay. All right. Well, that is definitely not a topic for me, but I can't really comment on it, but there you go, Will. Then finally, Asylum66 finishes off by saying, A Plague's Tale is a great game. It's about a child's hope on protecting her brother and creating a loving home for him. High on Life looks hilarious. You don't need to see Rick and Morty to get the game. It has nothing to do with the show. You either love their humor or this game ain't for you. It ain't for me. That being said, I think we covered most of those in the initial barrage, so I'm going to move on. Thanks to everybody for the comments. We really appreciate it, as usual. Now we're going to talk about two things that I know for a fact Asylum66 does not want to hear about. So, fun. Just that's our goal, to just slowly lose listeners. Okay, so we will be right back with our first of two small talking points, hopefully, I guess.
Hopefully, I guess.
Horrible Gaming Podcast.
All right, so that brings us to our first talking point tonight. We can actually say that.
Can actually say it, yeah!
So, we're full-blown in the aftermath of this E3 week. We're
E3.
It's the E3 week. This is the closest we're going to get this year. I think that that's why we're getting a lot of these aftermath stories. And a lot of it, it's funny to me that all these companies, just the minute they do these trailers, 2 days later, they do damage control for the trailers now. Todd Howard did an interview with IGN right after this Starfield thing, and a lot of this was to control some of the bad press that they're actually getting on Twitter and YouTube and stuff. A lot of people have likened the look of Starfield to No Man's Sky. They have made comparisons with the whole No Man's Skyrim, a lot of that stuff. So Todd Howard did an interview to try and assuage, and a lot of people were like, 1,000 handcrafted planets, how are they doing that? That sort of thing. So he's backtracked on a lot of stuff. Number one, these planets are procedurally generated. Just want to say that right off the bat. Told everybody they're not handcrafted. He said, basically he backtracked, basically saying that we've always procedurally generated our games to some extent. We procedurally generate everything. And that's how we do this. It's just our procedural generation. We tend to put more control and care into the actual crafting of things. So yes, we do use a lot of procedural generation on the planets. That being said, he then said that there's only going to be 4 populated cities in the game. 4 major city hubs. That's it. He did tend to center on the fact that new Atlantis city that they showed off is the largest city that they've ever done, even bigger than Whiterun or whatever, which I don't need one big city. I need the 1,000 planets you promised. So basically there's this person who used to work for IGN. Her name is Alana Pierce, I believe her name is.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
She's a YouTuber now, and she does a lot of Twitter. She's still in the gaming sphere. She tweeted a lot of negative stuff about this, and me and Alana Pierce, as far as our views, don't always mesh, but I was 100% with her on this. She was the one who coined the phrase "No Man's Skyrim" first, and then she made this comment of 1,000 planets. I can't wait to see all the nothing, and now basically he's confirmed that there's going to be 4 populated, super populated cityscapes. He did not even confirm that there's going to be outposts or oases on these other planets. So while you can land on every single planet, what is there going to be for you to do there?
0.
Right. The actual content of the game, he said, is slightly larger than its usual 30 to 40 hour campaign. So is that including the side quest? Because Skyrim had over 500 hours of content in it. So that would actually be less, in my opinion. I'm assuming he's talking about just the main campaign. And again, they had made it sound like you could play this thing anyway. I want to point out, while this was not in the preview, there have been multiple stories where they've said you can join the factions that you're fighting. You can join any faction, whatever, and play the game out that way. I don't understand how the campaign works then. If it's a linear sort of story. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's unless it's just one of those things to where maybe they're trying to channel, I don't know, Breath of the Wild doesn't really have a very, it's got a very loose story, basically. It's hey,
yeah,
in the end, go to these places, do the things, this is the end point. Outside of that, run around, fuck around, we don't give a shit. And that's kind of what it sounds like they're going for with this. It's like a big sandbox, and that's fine, but a big sandbox turns into a fucking desert when there's nothing to do in it.
I mean, even the most sandbox games like Grounded and stuff have stuff to do. You're doing it for a thing. Will there even be hunting and crafting? There is crafting, they've said, but how deep is that? You know what I mean?
Right.
If you have these places, with Grounded, obviously the story isn't really there, but the game is all about making yourself better, character progression through crafting and equipment. So there's that aspect of it where you're hunting something to get something new to bring it back. Are we looking at that sort of thing for Starfield? Because I don't recall any Bethesda game being like that. I mean, even Fallout had some building and crafting mechanics, but most of it was find the bigger thing to deal with the thing or level up your character. Right. So that open sandbox almost doesn't fit here unless you have all that content just running around. So what are we talking for side quests and stories? Are we talking less than Skyrim with 1,000 planets? Because I'm not interested in that. The other thing that I want to point out, do you remember when I said that Anthem, all the cutscene conversations looked like Anthem to me? Because they were all in Anthem, everything was first person. Even when you were in the city and you would just walk up to them and then it would be a static cam of them talking to you. Todd Howard has confirmed that all talking cutscenes are in first person. So that weird jaunting talking down the camera thing, that is how every one of them is happening.
Which is weird because in Fallout 4, they at least kind of, they had a pull out to some degree.
And it switched back and forth between your character. What's the point of all this character creation if you never get to see your character?
Right.
And it's not a multiplayer game. What's the point of all this character creation? They've showed us playing in third person sometimes. How much of this game is actually in third person? You know what I mean? Right. I'm starting to wonder if you can do anything in third person. So there's that. I don't know. So he's already backtracked on a lot of stuff. The other thing that he said is that you can't seamlessly fly through space like No Man's Sky.
I did hear about that.
He said that's a waste of time.
Yeah, that nobody cares.
Nobody cares. Okay, now, I'm of two minds on this because I am a No Man's Sky player. So I can tell you right now there is a lot of flying from point A to point B. That being said, we're playing an immersive game. We want to be immersed in it. There is a level of you have to have that time from point A to point B to make it feel like it matters. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes your time is earning, you know what I mean? Just spending the time is earning the thing you get at the end. You know what I mean?
Right.
And, like, while sometimes that does get irritating, I'm not saying it doesn't. Nonetheless, like, I feel like saying, like, throwing shade at another game is not the way to go about making this game look better. And especially when all you're saying is, no, we don't have that kind of detail because that detail is stupid. You know? I don't know. I think this is a real bad look for them.
I don't like the fact that he said that nobody cares about it.
Yeah.
That's the thing is, like, because like you had said, like, you have this immersive thing. It's part of the experience.
Yeah.
I mean, if he didn't say anything and going in and out of the atmosphere was just a loading screen, like you had just like a generic something. Right. I mean, hopefully not the standard Bethesda all black with a model spinning around. But if he didn't say anything about it and that's just the way it was.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. You know, I get it. I understand with all the immersion and all of the land, it's still a game. So, I mean, there is going to be game stuff. But at the same time, like, there are some people who do think that that's cool.
Yeah.
I think that that would be cool as shit. Even if it's wasting 10 seconds of you launching up, flying up away from a planet, going through an atmosphere, and then breaking through, like, into actual outer space.
Right.
Like, I think it's cool. I would give a shit about that.
Look,
but the fact that he just dismissed it as something that's just like trash and garbage.
Right. Look, I am a dad. You know, I don't always have a ton of time to play video games, and sometimes when I do, I only have a small time. And in those times, I can't boot up No Man's Sky because I know it's going to take too long to do whatever I'm trying to do. And so, on a whole, this could be slightly better. I'm not saying it wouldn't be to just go from planet to planet. But to say that, like, that doesn't matter to anybody is insane, especially when you're building an immersive role-playing game experience. Like, it would be one thing if you're building an arcade shooter. Okay, yeah, that shouldn't matter to anybody playing this game. They're going to want to just get to the next level and shoot stuff. But you're not. You're specifically building a game that's all about immersion, that's all about the details, that's all about fully putting yourself in this world, and then you're saying this key detail isn't there. So, like, and you're saying that doesn't matter, which is a little ridiculous. It's a little ridiculous. I truly feel like he's already doing damage control, and I'm actually really impressed. I mean, obviously, probably more people will buy this game than they should, but I'm really impressed with a lot of, like, video game Twitter and stuff like that. Not IGN, because they are, of course, eternally attached to the ball sack of bigger companies. but the other people out there, other gaming people, have really questioned this instead of just, like, with the whole Cyberpunk thing, just diving in head first and being super excited about every piece of thing they've put out. There has actually been some backlash about this preview. So a lot of people were harder on it than I was last week. So again, I don't like that he's already basically saying, oh, no, I wasn't lying. I was just, like, you know, not giving you all the details, you know?
I wasn't lying. I was just withholding truth. And
right.
Those are two totally different things, technically.
Totally different. Yeah, and that's something that already bothers me. That he's already like, oh, no, by handcrafted, I mean this, or by, like, super populated, I mean this, or, you know, like, I don't know. Yeah. It's just very frustrating. Yeah, I don't know if I said this last time. Another friend of mine actually went on Twitter and said, Starfield looks good and all, but what makes this better than No Man's Sky or Star Citizen? And I don't, he's like, I don't know what, you know, like, it hasn't shown anything that does. So, all right, well, This is a mini topic. I want to jump over to the Sonic one too, and we're at 33 minutes, so I think this is a good time to end it unless you got anything else to add to it.
No.
All right, so we will go to a second talking point, unprecedented, and we will be right back with that in a second.
Horrible Gaming Podcast.
All right, so that brings us to our second talking point, and this is something about Sonic Frontiers that I am not aware of, which I thought I was aware of everything, but Neil is aware of it, so he's going to fill us in. So take it away, Neil. Let's be angry about Sonic now.
So, I mean, this is kind of short, sweet, to the point to some degree, but it is the stupidest fucking shit I have ever heard. So, I mean, a little bit of context. I know we kind of mentioned it last time we talked about this, is I was a little hot on this, like when they first showed not the launch trailer, but like the first gameplay. It's like, wow, this is cool. Open world Sonic game. This looks sweet. And then like, as more information's come out, it's like, okay, well, maybe it's not like hyper cool. And then Sega had their own little event and everything too. During all of this time, there'd been a petition going around, or at least a bunch of people calling on Sega to delay Sonic Frontiers because it just looks barren and looks like an Unreal Engine demo, basically.
Yeah.
Sega is aware of this. Sega is aware of this this push to get the game delayed, and they have come out and said that they will not delay the game. They are refusing to delay the game. Well, why is it that they're not delaying the game? Not because they're on track or anything like that. No, not anything like that. It's because they said that the fans don't understand what the game is. They just don't get it, is what it is. Direct quote, basically. That the fans just don't get what Sonic Frontiers is. It's a quote-unquote new genre. And whenever one of the directors, I forget his name, was asked, well, could you explain it to us to make us maybe understand what it is? Because it's so different, maybe we'll understand better. And he described a game wherein you are in a zone, but it's like a zone like you're used to, but it is open, a big open area where there's a lot of stuff to do and no direct path. So he actively described an open world game while claiming that it's not an open world game and that people are mad about it because they don't understand.
I got a lot to say about this. I actually know what you're talking about. I forgot about this because of the whole open zone explanation thing. I had seen that snippet. Okay, so for starters, just to start this one off, if you are explaining to your fans that they don't understand the product you're creating, you're not creating the right product. I mean, the one group of people that should understand what you're creating are the people who are going to want to buy the thing that you're creating. Otherwise, you don't sell the thing you're creating. Okay? I mean, that's like rule number one of consumerism. Like, the people have to want it. And if they don't want it, well, you're in trouble. You can't just say to them, you don't get it. No, because you have to make money on it. That's how it works. So, for starters, right there, I think that's a terrible response. For the second, I do remember this. He was explaining the open zone concept as like, it's a level with a bunch of stuff in it, but you can go in any direction. So, like, the way I'm conceiving this game is that you have like a section of it, right? And then you can go anywhere in that section of it, and then there's a bunch of stuff that you can do in that section of it that slowly precedes you to a goal in that section of it, which will end in a boss in that section of it, which will give you a key to get to another section of it, which then comes with some sort of different thing. So, like, there'll be an ice section, a fire section, a sand section, a grass section, which we've already seen. Do you see what I'm saying there?
Yeah.
That is 100% still an open world, man. The first ever open world game was GTA 3. I mean, really. The first big commercial success open world game was GTA 3. You're literally describing how you do the island structures. Like, that's how it worked, was you did everything you had to do on one little section of the city, and then that would unlock a bridge that allowed you to go to another section of the city, that then you had to do everything there that unlocked another section of the city. Like, you're literally describing that. That's what that is. Yes, nowadays open world games are just like, we drop you in, you can go in any direction, and the whole map is there. But still, like, that's how it was in the beginning. So, like, what you're saying is you've gone back a step, and you're trying to tell us that you're moving forward somehow? I don't know.
After seeing what I've seen and just how Sega is just Sega-ing this all up, which is the only way I can describe it, because this is just what Sega does with Sonic shit now, is they get this idea in their head that they think people want, or, you know, whatever, and it just turns out to be the complete opposite, and they have potential possibly in what it is that they want to do, but they just ruin it anyway. I mean, you've got the Sonic Origins that's coming out here soon, which is just going to be the Sonic games that exist now with like a little bit of extra content, but cost you basically an extra $40.
Yep.
You know, it makes absolutely no sense. Like,
it was the same thing with Forces. You had this cool idea of creating a character in a Sonic game. You know, like Sonic Forces had that, and you're like, wow, that actually gets me excited. And then you see the previews, and like, this actually gets me excited. And then you see the game, and it's like, oh, it's 3 hours of content, and your created character is only there for about half of it. Like, that kind of stuff, it's like they always present a good idea to make the Sonic games better, and then there's no follow-through on it.
Yeah. It's a half-assed idea.
Yeah.
Is what it is. And I don't know, like, we always end up having the same sort of conversation every time they try to do something new with Sonic. Am I the only one who just thinks that they should stick with the traditional structure?
Yes.
Of just like 2D, just like, because there's some games I feel like that don't make that jump very well, and this is one of them. I mean, granted, there's potential that could be there, but not in the hands of Sega.
All right, let's get into this then. Not in the hands of Sega is a key word there, and I'm inclined to agree with you on that level. But that being said, I think the only games that can't make that transition are that's not on the game. That's on the person presenting the game. I think any game can make that transition.
That's fair.
If the person presenting it figures out how to do it right and looks at it the correct way. I think anybody who's saying a 2D game can never be a 3D game is a crazy person. Because there are plenty of success stories there. There are plenty of people who are like, Metroid will never be a good 3D game. Metroid Prime. You know, like, Mario will never be a good 3D game. Mario 64
literally revolutionized the 3D platforming genre.
Exactly. And this is the kind of things that I'm talking about. And here's the problem. Here's the thing. Is that while, the 2D games are fun, I like 2D games. They're not AAA games. They're never going to be AAA games again. Not in the way that we want them to be. They're just not. And until Sonic makes that AAA jump that 3D jump successfully, it's never going to be up there with your Zeldas and your Marios and other stuff like that. It's always going to be a second-tier franchise for gaming until it makes that jump. It just is. And that's an unfortunate reality of the world we're living in, but it is. It is. I think the same about Castlevania. Until Castlevania truly makes a 3D jump, it's just not going to be, like, people are going to always want it. They're always going to think about the old games, but it's never going to be a great modern game. It's always going to be some indie re-release or something. I want to see Sonic make that jump and be able to compete with Mario like it once did. I want it to be in there, and it's never going to be in that fight until they figure out how to make it a 3D game successfully. And what bothers me so much here is, personally, Sonic the concept of him works way better as a 3D game than a lot of the other ones that I've said. Like, super speed works way better in a 3D plane. And I'm going to say something that you're not going to like and the other people aren't going to like. The original Sonic games are super annoying. I love them. I will always love them. But they work on one mechanic that I absolutely hate, is that you're supposed to go fast, and every time there's a spike at the end that hits you and takes all your rings away. The only way to beat that spike is to remember that spike is there and jump it. You never get it on the first try. Every level has one of those moments, because when you're doing super speed in 2D, you can't follow it as well as 3D. And it's mind-bogglingly irritating. And Neil, I know you've been after me to get through Sonic Mania forever. It's why I've never gone through Sonic Mania, because I started playing it and I found that same irritating thing. And while when I was a kid, I loved these games because Sonic was cool and he ran really fast and I loved the speed, as an adult, the game mechanic of it drives me fucking nuts. And I will always pick a different 2D game for my 2D game go-to. Other than that, it's infuriating. I know a lot of people out there are going to be really mad at me, but that's the truth. Go back and play any one of those classic Sonic games. You're going to find that mechanic in 3 out of 4 levels that you play through every time. It's like you get running fast and you're just waiting for it. I'm going to hit a wall. I'm going to hit a spike. I'm going to hit an enemy because the screen is moving too fucking fast for me to react to. With that being said, this game should be 3D. It should be super easy to be in 3D. A third-person super speed game would be amazing. Like, the idea of this is great. And I don't understand why they can't make that a reality while a fat-ass dumb plumber can nail it right out of the gate every fucking time. Like, that kind of thing bothers me. Like, if you said to me which works better as a 2D game, Mario or Sonic, like, just the premise. Mario. Every time. Every time, Mario. Because you can think about what you're doing. You can think about every movement on the screen. No matter how hard it becomes, you can think about it. It is a skill time jump type of system. Whereas Sonic is just you get going too fast. You almost have to work against what Sonic is in those 2D games to get through them sometimes. And that drives me nuts. Whereas Mario, you're working with Mario the whole time. What works better as a 3D premise? Sonic, 100%. Not Mario. I don't want to run around as a pudgy little idiot. Like, I don't want to do that. But yet again, Mario wins. Like,
The only thing that I would disagree in what you just said is with 3D Sonic, there were in Sonic 06, I know it's a bad example.
It's a bad example.
It's a bad example of a Sonic game.
You can't see me, but my eyes went up. Like, is he going to use Sonic 06 as a positive here?
Well, it's not positive. It's because you had said, like, in a 3D environment, you can keep track of what's happening more. There were super speed sections that had big, vast, open areas where you could see where you were going. It was in 3D. Now, granted, the controls weren't super tight. That definitely played a factor. Mm-hmm. But there was still shit happening that you had 0.0 seconds to react to. Now, the only thing I would say is those you are being propelled at a speed that you cannot control. So what is there to counteract that? And that is open world, which is what it's seeming like they want to do. But what's really shitty about this is what they have showed of Sonic Frontiers looks worse than what they did in Sonic 06.
Yeah. Yeah, or
it's like,
or even Sonic Adventure in some ways. Like
Sonic Adventure was good because you could, but at the same time, it's not an open world. Like if you had a Sonic Adventure 2 game with a big ass open world, and the first Sonic Adventure had like the overworld, but that doesn't exactly count.
No, I don't count those games. Happening. Yeah, I don't count them as open world games. There were sections where you could move around freely,
right?
you go back and you watch those games, they don't necessarily hold up. Like, they were really good at the time. I still hold true to that. But, like, you watch the facial animation and stuff, like, it's just bonkers fucking bananas. Like, that being said, there were still huge chunks of that game where you're running really fast, and it works really well because it's 3D, you know? And like, there's so many sections, like, hell, Sonic Adventure 2, the running showdown between you and Shadow, and this is a deep cut for gamers. I don't know anybody who made it there other than me and Neil. But that section where they just start walking towards each other, and then they just start running, and they're both going, and then you fight them on it, that was fucking amazing. That's the kind of 3D stuff. You can't do that shit in 2D, and you shouldn't. That's why Sonic, in my opinion, like, his powers and the way he works is made for that 3D space. It's the follow-through. It's the company. It's always the company. And Sega is not making good 3D Sonic games. It's not because Sonic doesn't lend himself to it. It's not because Sonic can't be something more than 2D. It's because the person doing it can't do it. I mean, you and I have both given good pitches of 3D Sonic games on this show that are well within the realm of possibility to do. The other thing about the whole Sonic Frontiers trailer is the only thing they did was plop him into a really pretty landscape so that he could run around in. And they thought that would
look, guys.
Yeah.
Graphics.
They didn't change anything else, though. Like, nothing else was new or fresh. Sonic combat has been stale since 06. Like, it's stale. He's super fast. We can't come up with a combat system that's a little bit more interesting than him running into things over and over again.
And, like, they have stuff that has potential.
Yeah.
Like, in this, they showed, like, the move that he can do where he just, like, kind of kicks so fast he shoots, like, air blades.
Yeah.
That's a good idea. It's a new idea.
Yeah.
Probably, lending more, the fact that it's so good is because it's so new.
Right.
And then there's, the whole run around in a circle to make the whirlwind thing. Like, that looks good. That looks cool. But, like, you can't break this shit down in pieces. Eventually it all comes together as one.
Yeah.
You can have a good idea that's like, hey, that sounds like a good idea off on its own. But when you mesh it with other things, it doesn't make sense. Right.
And I think there were a lot of things in the written preview that I thought would be good that they should have showed us, like the skill tree. There's apparently an experience-based skill tree here. That sounds really interesting. They've really done that in a Sonic game. But, like, I don't know. The other thing is, too, and then we're going to get off this because we're running a little bit late now. The other thing is, too, they've gone out of their way to point out that there's none of his friends are in this, like Knuckles and Tails and all that. Or at least he's not talking with them at all or anything like that in the preview.
Right.
Those characters make the game diverse and interesting outside of Sonic himself. Like, Sonic's great, but, like, it's really nice to play other characters sometimes. And I'm going to tell you right now, all the old games, I liked them better when I could play Knuckles. Because I could fly with Knuckles, I could walk up walls. He wasn't super fast, so I could kind of see where I'm going. Like, it was just a more fun experience for me. Whereas, I mean, when I was older, not when I was younger. But, like, I would like to play Knuckles in the 3D game. Why are we only doing Sonic in this? Like, I feel like they're limiting their options on a lot of things here, and I don't like that. And again, I know we've had this debate multiple times on this show about you think it should stay 2D, I think it should go 3D. I'm not necessarily saying I'm 100% right. I still feel like, though, if a game isn't right, it's never the subject matter. It's the person behind the subject matter that's making it. I mean, sometimes it's the subject matter, but especially when you're doing these franchises. Like the shitty Castlevania 3D games are not shitty because Castlevania should never be 3D. Castlevania is made for 3D. The plot storyline is, anyway. It's fucking all fantasy and shit. It's perfect for 3D. They're bad because the people who made them bad.
Yeah.
So, alright. Well, let's get into odds and ends then, man.
All right.
Horrible Gaming Podcast.
All right, so that brings us to odds and ends. This is where we collect smaller stories that don't necessarily deserve a full talking point. We riff about them, we let you guys know about them, that sort of thing. Now, we don't have a ton of odds and ends this week, I don't think. I don't, that's for sure. I do have one that is terrible and fucking awful and depressing, and I just decided to get it out of the way. Neil might even have it on its list, I don't know. But it's one of those things that we've covered so much that I can't not mention it.
I already know what you're going to say, and it's already on my list.
All right, you can mark it off. Because I want to get it out of the way. Because it's one of the most depressing things I've heard in the week that doesn't have directly to do with me. Okay, so Activision Blizzard's board finds no evidence it ignored or downplayed harassment. The board also is urging shareholders to vote against a proposed report. It's a proposed report about its own efforts to prevent abuse and harassment. Look, I don't want to debate this. I don't want to go back and forth with this. We all know how shitty Activision Blizzard is. Somebody lost their life here. Somebody committed suicide because they were so harassed by this company. This company definitely had gender harassment, and the idea that it wasn't downplayed or ignored at somewhere along the line, that for nigh on 10 years, terrible harassment, to the point where somebody decided to take their own life, is wrong. It's absolutely wrong. There's no way that wasn't here. No way it wasn't here. The people behind this, I don't advocate death, so they should at least be imprisoned, and they should at least go down. And I'm very sad that we're living in a world where this is even possible, that people could falsify a report like this when literally the entire world knows that this is a lie. And this is just about money. It's about money over human life at this point. Money over human life and human rights. And it literally breaks my fucking heart that gaming has so much evil in it at its core. And that drives me nuts. That's something that brings so many people so much joy can be so terrible to other people. So much so that this could happen. So I just want to get this out of the way because I know this would have been on Neil's list, so I'm kind of cutting him off at the knees on this one. But we've talked about it a lot. It's a terrible situation. None of these people are going to go down for this. At least maybe we might get some unions out of it that might be able to combat this. But honestly, that could just lead to another level of corruption. The idea, the level of corruption has gone so far past corruption at this point that it is human depravity. And I don't know, like this is insane to me. So that's all I have to say on that matter. It's terrible. It's sick. It's sad. And the people who wrote this report should be absolutely, totally ashamed of themselves.
Alrighty. Well, yeah, the only other thing I really have to say about that, truthfully, is, I mean, when you let a criminal be in charge of the investigation into themselves, what the fuck do you think is going to happen?
Exactly. Exactly.
I mean, yeah, look into the story. Like, it's even, any way you look at the story, they're not known for their, getting ahead of things, taking care of stuff. All they do, it's CYA across the board.
Yeah,
they've done.
And that's the culture. That's the culture we live in now with the big companies. And unfortunately, gaming is no different from that. And I mean, it's sadly all about money, but it makes my stomach churn The other thing that bothers me about this is the biggest reason that all this is happening. The shareholders are definitely going to go along with this because this would be something that could potentially block the merger. That Phil Spencer is literally buying these people's way out of all of this, because with that money behind it, nobody's ever going to hold the people who are responsible accountable, because they don't want, for some reason, that to hold up the sale of this. Every one of these shareholders who were going to come after the board for these crimes aren't going to do it because they just want their money. And in the first place, that's what they wanted. They wanted their money, and they were coming after them because this was keeping them from getting their money. And even though that's a terrible reason to do that, it was still a way that these people might be punished for this. And with Microsoft trying to buy them, again, all Phil Spencer and Microsoft has done has allowed terrible rapists to get away with it. That's what he's done here.
Yeah.
Basically. And that is what this is going to allow to do, because these shareholders are not going to go after it because they want out and they just want their payday, which they weren't going to get before, which is why they were mad. But now they're going to get it, and they're going to wash their hands of it. And it's just absolutely infuriating. Let's move on.
All right. Well, I can actually I really only have two more things then, honestly, because we just talked about that and we talked about the Sonic thing. This one here, I can actually roll into two things since we already were talking about Bethesda and Todd Howard and all that good stuff. Todd Howard did say that Fallout 5 is going to be their next game after Elder Scrolls 6. So look for that in 2035, guys.
I'll tell my grandkids to watch out for that one.
Why? I to some very loose degree get, kind of talking about a game like maybe 3, possibly even 4 years like ahead of time, like announcing that it's in development. But him coming out and saying, hey, so we have a game that we haven't even started pre-production, we haven't started shit on. We still have 2 other games that we have to make before this one. But guess what? After those 2 other games come out, we're going to be doing this, guys. So stay tuned.
Dude,
why?
And did you see IGN's ridiculous ball attaching statement after this?
No.
It wasn't like, I can't believe they said this or anything. Their headline was, we finally see movement on Fallout 5.
Oh, shut up. Oh, my God.
Yeah, that's the headline. That's 100% a headline.
That's
I'm like,
completely fucking idiotic.
I'm like, I think you're seeing the absence of movement, man. That's what you're seeing. There's no movement.
There's no movement. Nothing has moved.
Just point at him and be like,
Howard's fucking lips.
He mentioned it. He mentioned it. It's a real thing. Like, it's just ridiculous. Who even knows if like is Bethesda even going to be a company at that point? Like, not saying Bethesda's going to crash or anything, but companies get crashed all the time. Who knows? Like, it's a ridiculous idea.
Yeah,
ridiculous idea.
And going directly off of that into the second half.
Sure.
Of this, apparently, Shirley Curry, the Skyrim grandma.
Oh.
She has publicly said now that she wants Elder Scrolls 6 before she dies. That she's already 86 years old. She would like to see that game come out.
I'm so sorry, Shirley. I'm so sorry. I want a holodeck before I die. Some things just aren't in the cards. I'm sorry, Shirley. I'm sorry. I love Shirley. I know who you're talking about, but
yeah,
it's not happening.
Yeah, apparently she's already been to Bethesda and they've scanned and photographed her to put her into the game, which is great.
That's a dick move on Bethesda's part. They know it's not going to be out by the time that woman's dead.
Oh,
Jesus Christ. Come on, Bethesda. Giving her false hope like that. Ridiculous. Jesus. That's not going to be out by the time she's 100? There's no way.
No, there's no way.
That game isn't going to be out by the time I'm dead. I don't know what.
I'm legitimately calling 2026 for Elder Scrolls 6.
I'm legitimately calling it's never going to fucking happen. And you know what? If we're still podcasting when it does, I'll buy you pizza.
Oh, all right.
A pizza bet on the books, man. I'll definitely
Pizza
buy
Hut
a
has
pizza.
returned.
If we are still alive in podcasting when that thing fucking comes out, I'll buy you a pizza. It's not gonna happen. I will be long dead, I am sure.
Speaking of shit that's never going to come out, Square actually had a 25th anniversary celebration for Final Fantasy VII.
I was very surprised by some of the stuff they said and showed there.
Lo and goddamn behold, they plan on releasing the second part of the Final Fantasy VII remake.
The second
next year. They've said too that it's going to be a trilogy. So it's bonkers to me that it has taken them like literally over a year, like a year and a half, almost 2 years to decide how many games long it's going to be.
I'm kind of surprised that after 10 years of waiting for that remake, we got the remake and they're announcing the second one.
Yeah.
For 2 years after its release. I'm like, ooh. I was thinking, well, another 10 years, maybe we'll get part 2 of that shit.
Yeah, this is going to be called Rebirth. So the first one's remake. The second one is Rebirth. Who knows what the third one is going to be called?
Can I just say how fucking wild and crazy the world is that we are reporting on the part 2 of a game that's a remake of a 7th game of a series from back in the day. That's fucking insane, right? That's insane to me. It's absolutely insane. This is part 2 of Final Fantasy VII, the remake of Final Fantasy VII. That's insane. There's so many numbers there. This is like an equation. It's so fucking crazy to me.
They also had some other announcements. Basically, just a little redo version of a mobile game. I forget what that one was called. It was a Final Fantasy VII mobile game, but they're also doing. This one blew me away because arguably I think that this one was the biggest surprise out of all of them. They're going to be doing a remake of Crisis Core. Final Fantasy VII prequel, which I enjoyed that game a lot too. I'm surprised we're getting that remake. And that is something that I plan on picking up. It's apparently going to be out this year. Double the amount of time that anything Square says it's going to take. So probably next year it's going to take the part 2's slot for release.
Is it going to be the full remake of Crisis Core? Is it going to be 0.5 of 7?
They cannot break that shit up. I mean, they cover a lot in that game. So I can't imagine that they would break it up into multiple pieces. I'm stoked that it's coming because that was one of the best PSP games I ever played.
Okay.
But yeah, that one was the biggest surprise out of all of that in that show, because I kind of figured that we were going to get at least a teaser for the second part of the remake.
Right.
But not a release window or anything like that. That kind of shocked me. But yeah, no, the Crisis Core remake is the biggest surprise out of all that. So yeah, Square had its little shindig there. They announced some other stuff too. They have that weird battle royale multiplayer thing is getting an expansion, and then they had said that the orchestral versions of all the songs are going to be available on streaming here soon.
Right.
Stuff like that. But that stream was very difficult for me to watch for some reason. I think it was just IGN's stream that they had of it. It was the audio and video were super choppy. And for the first half of it, it was being presented obviously in Japanese, but they didn't have subtitles or anything for it until like the second half.
Okay.
Maybe it was just my personal stream, but I was having a lot of issues.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that is interesting, the whole Crisis Core. I was very surprised by Rebirth. I didn't think that we were seeing that part 2 anytime soon, just given how long it took them to finish part 1. So I was very surprised to see that. And to hear that it's going to be a 3-parter instead of like a 6-parter, because from what I understand, they really didn't cover that much in the first one.
Not really.
So to get through the whole story of that fucking balls out crazy ass game, I'm surprised that they're going to get it done in 3, to be honest.
So to not to get too like into it and bog us down in this, I just say this and then
how many more odds and ends do you have?
Nothing.
That's it. Okay, cool. Yeah, go ahead.
So I just wanted to, from what I'm guessing they're doing, given how that game ended, and I know I've spoken to you about this before, just you and I, but I don't want to like put the end of the game, the remake, out there.
Okay.
In case there's other people who are working through it, because Lord knows it's a long game. And it just recently, I believe today or something, it got released on Steam. So there's going to be a swath of people who are going to
haven't played it yet.
But given the trajectory of the story, what was covered, and the liberties that have been taken for this remake, I think they can very well get it done in 3 parts.
Okay. Right.
Then that they have it's clear they have an idea and they're running with this idea, and I like this idea of what they're presenting, because it's a little bit of a different take.
Okay.
And I think they can wrap it all up in 3.
All right. Well, there you go. Or at least 4, because they've got the whole retrograde one.
I still need to pick that up.
All right. Well, if that's it for the odds and ends, let's get to the plugs and be done.
All righty.
Horrible Gaming Podcast.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to the end of the show and the shameless self-promotion that comes with it. Neil, anything special you want to plug this week?
Not super. We did a firefight a little while ago.
It was very fun.
It was very fun. It was very fun, as it always is. Shenanigans and BS abound.
Yes.
But
Kayla is still one of my favorite people to stream with.
Yeah, it's always a good time every time we do that. I enjoy it. She enjoys it. It's great. Outside of that, nothing in the works, on the books, outside of this. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and talk about me streaming because, let's be real, I did it one time, and now my whole streaming process set up and everything, it seems to be broke after the issues that we had whenever we tried to do the last one, so I have to do everything over again. And I'm not super motivated to go ahead and fix that up, so who knows?
Yeah, next time I'm over, let me know, and I'll look at it for you.
Yeah.
All right. As far as me, I don't have a ton of stuff to plug. Nothing super special. I will say Amateur Hour has switched over to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge, which is fucking awesome. I'm going to try and get the review of that out sometime this week, probably Tuesday. So stream-wise, Grounded Tuesday mornings when I can with Jason. I can't talk now. Amateur Hour Tuesday nights 9:30. Lunch stream. Okay, that is something we need to talk about. Lunch stream and Grounded. Lunch stream and Grounded have become breakfast streams because Stella's home. It's much harder to stream during the middle of the day, and while I don't know that I'm going to get any viewers because I don't know if anybody wants to watch Skyrim and Grounded at 8 a.m., that's when we're playing it. So 8 a.m. Tuesday morning and 8 a.m. Skyrim for about an hour and a half. So check those out if you're up super early and want to watch video games. I don't know. Maybe you are, maybe you aren't. Either way, you can always check out the VODs. We appreciate it. Yeah, that's it. Not a lot of extra special stuff coming.
It's funny you bring that up too, because I forgot that you moved over to breakfast.
I had to
about the early thing.
It's so much harder with Stella to do it in the middle of the day.
I woke up, my phone was going off because of how many notifications come through.
Right.
Like I get notifications for YouTube like right before it starts and then when it starts and everything. So like my phone's going off at like 7:30 and then 8 o'clock. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Who is messaging me? Because that's where my brain automatically goes.
Right.
And I see it's like, this guy is already up and adventuring and my fat ass is still just like lumped in bed.
Look, there's a couple of things. A, it forces me to get out of bed. B, when she gets out of bed, if she gets up normally, she gets out of bed just before 8 a.m. And usually I let her eat breakfast and watch her cartoons for a little bit before we get into the day. To do that and then come back 2 hours later and then make her do something by herself is just so much harder than like, here's your breakfast, here's your milk, I'm going to go downstairs, I'm going to stream, you watch your TV for a second while you're waking up. She doesn't bother me. It worked really good this last week. So for me, I don't know that I got a lot of viewers, but for me it worked really good. So we're going to see if we totally tank or not. But for the time being, it's just easier. So I'm going to do it to keep our streams up, but I don't know that people are going to watch it. We'll have to see what happens. But yeah, that's how we're going to do it for the foreseeable future. But we're also producing, obviously, the same stuff we've always been producing. I do want to say, please keep on the lookout. We are doing a live play of the role-playing game that I'm creating with my company, Upper Hand. Neil is actually a part of it, which it looks like by the booking, not to spoil anything, that our characters will be fighting each other right off the bat, which is exciting. But yeah, please keep on the lookout for that. It's probably coming out sometime in July. And then, of course, check out those stations because I am doing development diaries weekly about our process and our release process and everything. And if you want to learn about the game, it's a wrestling role-playing game. Very proud of it. We're working very hard on it. We cannot wait to release it. So, that being said, we're going to get out of here. We're going to be done. You guys can contact us on Facebook at OldManGamingDH, on Twitter at OldManGaming9. You can join our Discord. Links in the description below. You can influence us on all of our shows from there. And ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, as long as you keep watching and listening, we'll keep making them. We'll see you guys next time. The people at home are going to be so confused, man. If this makes it, I'm going to show it. The people at home, I am covered head to toe in My Little Pony permanent tattoos. Not permanent tattoos. Non-permanent tattoos. That'd be great, right, if it was permanent. My kid got a bunch of tattoos from her aunt, and, of course, she's got to put them all over everybody. So if you're seeing it, you're probably seeing it. Neil isn't because he can't see me when we record, but you're probably seeing it all over my hands. I have my favorite My Little Pony, which is Pinkie Pie, all over me. Pinkie Pie is the shit. Super positive. Love Pinkie Pie. Pinkie Pie for life.
I would not know.
I only know because of her, but like it's impossible to not like be present and see some My Little Ponies if you have a daughter. It's impossible. Fair. It's just impossible to not know. And Stella is obsessed with finding out what everybody's favorites are. So I had to pick my favorite. And I had to stick to my guns. So it's Pinkie Pie. Honestly, I'm kind of trying to get through this a little bit because I have a giant boot on my foot.
What?
Yeah, didn't I tell you about this? I thought I told you about this. I tore a ligament in my foot.
Oh, I didn't know that. No, yeah, you didn't tell me that.
I thought I told you that. No, on Monday I tore a ligament in my foot. So I've got this like walking boot. I ran for a quarter of a second.
Oh no.
That's all it takes when you're 40, man. When you're 40 and fat, quarter of a second run, you're done. I was out biking. Well, I wasn't biking. Stella was on her bike with training wheels, and she's not really great at stopping. And we were next to a busy street. She lost control going down a hill. She started to head towards the road. I got panicky and desperate and ran, which is, everybody's like, oh man, heroic dad stuff. I'm like, no, it wasn't. A, I never would have made it to her in time. B, she stopped long before she got to the street. And C, I had to use her bike to get home. So, like, this is... There's no heroic dad here thing. They're like, yeah, you're a savior dad. I was like...
to use the bike?
Yeah, I had to use it as, like, a walker because I couldn't put any weight on the thing. So I just had to hobble next to it with, like, my knee on the seat and just, like, wheel myself home because I couldn't put any weight on it. And I had to call Melissa to come pick my fat ass up and take me to the hospital. But everybody at the hospital was like, you're a heroic dad. I was like, no, I'm not. A heroic dad makes it to the daughter and pulls her off the bike. No. What happened here was, like, she started to roll towards the street. I broke into a sprint. She stopped. I fell over. That was it. There was no heroics here. There was the intention of heroics, implied heroics, but not a hero. Does that make?
Matters.
No.
That's what matters, though.
No, it's not. If Stella had careened into the street and gotten hit by the car, nobody would have been like, he's still... It's the thought that counts. Like, they would have been like, that fat asshole couldn't make it there in time. So my ligament is torn. I am in this disgusting, disgusting walking boot.